Hello and welcome. I'm Ananya Dutt and you're watching Race to Power. Coming up in this broadcast, it is a double court day for former US President Donald Trump. The hush money trial will resume after a day's recess and the Supreme Court is deciding if he has immunity or not in the federal election case. Trump is looking at a busy day. Over in India, within 12 hours, the country will see its second phase of elections. While there is so much going on, the Election Commission is busy reviewing speeches of the two main men, Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi. Both leaders have been accused of propagating religious divide. As we said, it's a double court day for former US President Donald Trump. The hush money trial is entering its third day in New York, while the US Supreme Court is hearing the arguments in Washington over his immunity bid in the federal election case. The hearing will determine if Trump should be immune from prosecution for any action that he took during his time as the president. Trump's immunity appeal is regarding the case of the election subversion, one of the four criminal cases the Republican presidential candidate faces. The federal case brought by special counsel Jack Smith back in December and accused Trump of conspiring to block the peaceful transfer of power after losing the 2020 elections to Joe Biden. In this case, Trump faces 3 felony counts to derail the transfer of power. This in part by affecting the voting rights of millions and pressuring government officials to override the election results based on his claims that it was fraud. The special counsel has argued that these efforts culminated in the events of January 6, 2021, when Trump supporters stormed the US Capitol. The trial start date was set in March. However, Trump's lawyers filed a series of motions seeking to postpone the case against him. They argue that the accusations against Trump fall within the range of presidential actions that courts have often ruled and are legally protected, at least from civil lawsuits. Now, the question of whether an ex-president is immune from prosecution is legally untested in the United States, as this is the first time the former White House occupant had been charged with a crime. The hearing is crucial and underway, as it will not only quash the charges against Trump but also alter the US presidency. If the theory of presidential immunity is adopted, it will provide extraordinary consolidation of power in the Oval Office. Trump is hoping for a friendly hearing from a court he had a critical role in shaping. There is a bench of 6 conservative and 3 liberal judges. While 3 of the judges are appointed by him, Trump is forced to be present in the Manhattan court for the hush money trial and to watch his alleged tabloid co-conspirator David Pecker's testimony about the bid to kill controversial stories that could have derailed his 2016 White House campaign.
Well, we have a big case today. This judge isn't allowing me to go. We have a big case today in the Supreme Court on presidential immunity. A president has to have immunity. If you don't have immunity, you just have a ceremonial president.
Let's now head to the US Supreme Court hearing where arguments are underway for presidential immunity for Donald Trump.
We think it's clear he did not, that this was done in an official capacity.
The defendant asked the Arizona House Speaker to call the legislature into session to hold a hearing based on their claims of election fraud.
Absolutely an official act for the president to communicate with state officials on a matter of enormous federal interest and concern, attempting to defend the integrity of a federal election, to communicate with state officials and urge them to view what he views as their job under state law and federal law. That's an official act.
Well, attempting to defend the integrity of the election, I mean, that's the defense. The allegation is that he was attempting to overthrow an election.
Essentially, exactly right. And neither allegation of what the purpose is should make should make a difference as to whether it's immune. That is extremely strong precedent from this court.
Does it strike you as odd that your understanding of immunity goes way beyond what OLC has ever claimed for a former president?
I view the OLC opinions here as strongly supporting us, because any time a congressional statute basically got anywhere near touching the president's prerogatives, they've said, oh, we're going to interpret the statute narrowly to avoid that. So
well, that's a different question. I mean, what OLC has always said is that sitting presidents get immunity, but former presidents, no. Now, there might be a different argument made about whether a statute or whether a statute as applied to particular conduct is properly available against the president. But that's a very different argument than the immunity claim that you're making here, which OLC has definitively not supported.
I don't know if I put it that way. I don't recall an opinion directly addressing it, but more fundamental to us, Your Honor, is in fact the language of cases like Marbury and statements like made by Benjamin Franklin at the Constitutional Convention, statements of George Washington talking about the massive risk of factional strife and how that could destroy the republic and erect a new government on the ruins of public liberty. That's what we rely on principally here. I cite the OLC opinions because, of course, what you see there is a very strong trend that if there's any statute that might trench in any way on the president's prerogatives, which they interpret it to avoid that.
If a president sells nuclear secrets to a foreign adversary, is that immune?
That sounds like, similar to the bribery example, likely not immune. Now, if it's structured as an official act, he would have to be impeached and convicted first before.
What does that mean if it's structured as an official act?
Well, I don't know in the hypothetical whether or not that would be an official act. You'd probably have to have more details to apply the Blazing Game analysis or even the Fitzgerald analysis that we've been talking about.
How about if a president orders the military to stage a coup?
I think that, as the Chief Justice pointed out earlier, where there is a whole series of, sort of guidelines against that, so to speak, like the UCMJ prohibits the military from following a plainly unlawful act. If one adopted Justice Alito's test, that would fall outside. Now, if one adopts, for example, the Fitzgerald test that we advanced, that may well be an official act, and he would have to be, as I'll say in response to all these kinds of hypotheticals, has to be impeached and convicted before he can be criminally prosecuted. But I emphasize to the court that—
Well, he's gone. Let's say this president who ordered the military to stage a coup, he's no longer president. He wasn't impeached. He couldn't be impeached. But he ordered the military to stage a coup, and you're saying that's an official act.
I think it would depend.
That's immune.
I think it would depend on the circumstances whether it was an official act. If it were an official act, again, he would have to be impeached.
Well, what does that mean, depend on the circumstances? He was the president. He is the commander-in-chief. He talks to his generals all the time, and he told the generals, I don't feel like leaving office. I want to stage a coup. Is that immune?
If it's an official act, there needs to be impeachment and conviction beforehand, because the framers viewed that kind of
if it's an official act. Is it an official act?
If it's an official act, it's impeachment.
Is it an official act?
On the way you've described that hypothetical, it could well be. I just don't know. You'd have to, again, it's a fact-specific, context-specific determination.
That answer sounds to me as though—
Go this further. Our correspondent Susan Tehrani is joining us live from New York. Susan, we have been hearing Supreme Court's hearing all this while, and to put it very nicely, Donald Trump's lawyer is being grilled at the moment. What are your takeaways?
Yeah, they certainly are, especially by those liberal Supreme Court judges, as we're hearing questions of hypotheticals, if you may. For example, if a president stages a coup, if a president sells secret documents regarding the nuclear files to a foreign country and whatnot, things that would possibly amount to treason. So, I understand what they're trying to get to on the one hand, but on the other hand, this issue of immunity really ultimately leads to that January 6th riot on the Capitol. And the judges need to be convinced that Donald Trump really played an active role without reasonable doubt in what happened that day. And then the immunity for other issues then comes into questions as well. His lawyers are arguing that if a president is constantly afraid of being tried in a court after he leaves office, then they can't make proper decisions as commander-in-chief. But again, we'll see if the judges really go along with that. I think we'll expect a result or some kind of, outcome by June.
Right. Susan, this could go either way. Either Trump has immunity or he doesn't have immunity. But either way, you know, the judgment will mark one of the most important decisions on presidential power in the history of the United States. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's no way else to put it. And, you know, one after the other with these Donald Trump cases, we're always in uncharted territory. And the justices really, despite the fact that they really want to stay out of politics, notably in an election year, they're really at the center of it. And not only will it affect moving forward other presidents that come into office, but it will affect this year's presidential elections as well, exceptionally. I mean, even in the debates, you know, one way or the other, past presidents and their actions are going to come in the conversation and in debates, and it'll be interesting to see which way it veers.
All right, Susan, thank you so much for getting us all those updates from New York.
Thank you.
Now that was Trump's legal battles in New York. Let's now take a look at another battleground in Arizona, where the tussle is on between pro-life and pro-choice groups. In the latest, supporters of abortion rights have won a critical round in this duel. On Wednesday, Arizona's House of Representatives voted to repeal a pre-Civil War law on abortion ban. In the 32-28 vote, the state's lawmakers decided that the abortion law from 1864 should be repealed.
It's been turned against one party and used as a weaponization of the issue is disgusting. I hope people are happy now, and I would encourage them to vote no on any further law that expands abortions in our state. I vote no.
This is the first win for pro-choice groups that are protesting against the archaic law ever since it was revived by Arizona Supreme Court on April 9th. The court ruling paved way for the law to come into effect within 60 days of the order. While abortion rights advocates have secured a crucial win, they have one more hurdle to cross. Now the Arizona State Senate must also vote to repeal the bill before the 160-year-old ban is scrapped.
The stakes in this election cycle could not be higher, and the contrast between our two parties could not be clearer. Democrats are fighting for abortion rights. We are fighting to protect Arizona values. And the Republican Party is taking away our rights and are under sole control of Donald Trump.
While there was celebration in one camp, several pro-life supporters expressed disappointment over the pushback against the abortion law.
And today, in many respects, you could say life lost. And it's a very sad day. It's a very sad day for Arizona. We were all weeping. It was very emotional. And to see people celebrating that you can now kill a child.
Like many states in the U.S., Arizona is at the epicenter of a raging battle on women's reproductive rights ever since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned the landmark Roe v. Wade. The decision in 2022 ended the constitutional right to abortion that left it up to states to decide laws on the issue.
I've been following Donald Trump's lead on this for years, working to understand.
Some news just coming in. Ariel Henry has resigned as the Prime Minister of Haiti, leaving the way for a new government to be formed in the Caribbean country. A council has been tasked with choosing a new Prime Minister and a cabinet. Now, Haiti is in the middle of a series of crises. One of the biggest issues is the gang violence that has plagued the country for over 2 years. Ariel Henry was chosen as the de facto leader by President Jovenel Moïse. But days later, Moïse was assassinated. Under Henry, attempts to chart a political transition for Haiti had failed, and armed groups have fought to fill the power vacuum. Let's talk about the mother of all elections, India. Tomorrow is phase 2 of this mammoth exercise. We bring you everything you need to know. India is in the middle of its general elections. The fight is for the lower house of the parliament, also known as the Lok Sabha. With 545 seats, the representatives are directly elected to the house. Out of these, 102 seats were voted on last week. In the second phase, 89 more seats will be decided. Let's put this on a map. 13 states and 1 union territory will vote. The numbers you see on each state are the constituencies holding elections in phase 2. After this phase, the elections will end in Kerala and Rajasthan. 4 more phases are due, with the last one slated for 1st of June. Let's look at some of the key faces. Kerala is expecting some high-profile contests. From Wayanad, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi will face off against left-wing candidate Annie Raja of the Communist Party of India. In Thiruvananthapuram, senior Congress member Shashi Tharoor is seeking re-election for a 4th consecutive term. His main opponent is the BJP's Rajiv Chandrasekhar, the junior information technology minister. Uttar Pradesh Mathura will see Bollywood actor Hema Malini of the BJP. She has won this seat since 2014. In the state of Karnataka, the BJP is hoping its alliance partner, the Janata Dal Secular's leader and former Chief Minister H.D. Kumaraswamy, will win the important Mandya seat. Tejasvi Surya is looking for a re-election from the Bangalore South seat. Let's come to logistics. Across the 1 million polling stations, there are 15 million polling agents in total. 5.5 million voting machines have been installed this time. The voting will start at 7 a.m. local time and end at 6 p.m. local time. So if it happens to be your turn to vote, go out and cast your vote. You report WION World is One. In the midst of the world's largest elections, India's poll body has issued notices to the ruling BJP and the opposition Congress party. Precedent seeking responses to alleged violations of the Model Code of Conduct. The Election Commission of India has sought responses from major political parties to allegations of their star campaigners violating the Model Code of Conduct during poll season. The Election Commission of India's statement said, and I'm quoting here, political parties will have to take primary responsibility for the conduct of their candidates, star campaigners in particular. Campaign speeches by those holding high positions are of more serious consequences. Now, both the BJP President J.P. Nadda and Congress Party President Mallikarjun Kharge received notices regarding complaints against Prime Minister Narendra Modi and opposition leader Rahul Gandhi. The EC has sought a reply from both sides by 11 a.m. local time on April 29th. A complaint was filed by Congress, the Communist Party of India Marxist and the Communist Party of India Marxist-Leninist against Narendra Modi, accusing him of using hate speech at a rally in the state of Rajasthan. On the other hand, the ruling BJP also filed a complaint against Rahul Gandhi. The party claimed the Congress leader made false allegations against the Prime Minister, stating that he had advocated for one nation, one language and one religion. Now, UK elections might be a few months away, but the country's media regulator has already clamped down on broadcasting networks and radio stations to ensure impartial coverage. The Office of Communications, commonly known as Ofcom, has issued a notice warning broadcasters over using politicians as hosts before the general elections, or they will be fined heavily. Any candidate standing for election will not be allowed to host programs during the campaign period, the regulatory body said. Ofcom also went on to say, and I'm quoting from their statement, politicians who are not standing as candidates in a UK election can present non-news programs, including current affairs, during election periods, provided that program complies with all relevant code rules. Ofcom also said that it has strengthened regulations for normal non-election times, saying that political leaders cannot work as a newsreader, interviewer or reporter in news programs unless exceptional, it is editorially justified. Politicians can, however, front current affairs. So far, UK channels including GB News and LBC have showed hosts by serving members of the parliament. Among other conservative lawmakers, JB News has recruited former Prime Minister Boris Johnson to play a key role in its election coverage. But in light of the new ruling, broadcasters will have to ensure the role of politicians in their shows adhere to the code of conduct. Celebrations are on in Portugal as the country marks 50 years of its democracy. In 1974, young, idealistic men of the Portuguese military ended a decades-long dictatorship, not by using arms, but flowers instead. Take a look at these celebratory-ish visuals that are coming in at a time when the country is witnessing a surge in the far-right regime's popularity.
We can't cut ourselves off from our roots and the meaning that the carnation has for us. It is very important for our country. It represents a very strong symbolism that we must not forget. That's why we are still growing it despite the difficulties and challenges of cultivating it. We're not giving up because it's a flower that's truly symbolic and important for us.
And with that, we are wrapping up this session of Race to Power. Thanks for watching with me, Ananya Datta.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
WION Health Resort is unique, the only one of its kind. Experience the 4 paths of natural wellness: yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy. Each uniquely customized program improves the whole person to make every person whole. Come to WION Health Resort. Make your reservation at yowan.com.
This week on Inside South Asia, a sweeping victory for President Mohammad Muizzu's party in the Maldives elections comes with powers to assert his pro-China agenda. Iranian President Raisi visits Pakistan, big show of bonhomie, but gas pipeline issue the elephant in the room. And kin of a Nepali youth taken hostage by Hamas on October 7th pray for his safety.